Unit Circles in Sine, Cosine, and Tangent Graphs by Jimmy Muse, Dylan Yen, and Bo Sensenbrenner. What is a unit circle? A unit circle is when the radius equals 1, as shown here. What is a radian? A radian is a pure measure based on the radius of the circle. So you take the radius of the circle and you put it along the circumference of the circle. The difference that the radian covers, that the distance of the radius equals the radian. A radian equals 57.2958 degrees. Pi radians equals half of a circle, which equals 180 degrees. So 1 radian equals 180 degrees divided by pi, which is 57.2958 ... How many radians are in a full circle? Imagine you cut up pieces of string exactly the length from the center of the circumference of a circle. How many pieces do you need to go around the circle, once around the circle? The answer is 2 pi, or about 6.283 pieces of string. We also know that it is 2 pi because we know that half of the circle is is pi radian. So because the other half is equal to pi radian, so we know that pi times 2 equals 2 pi,
which is a full circle. Here on the left, we have your regular 30, 60, 90 triangle. If you take the short side of the triangle and you multiply it by 2, you'll get the hypotenuse. And if you want to find the short side and you already have the hypotenuse, you divide it by 2. If you want to find the long side of the triangle, you multiply a by the square root of 3. And if you want to get back to the short side, you divide it by the square root of 3. On the right side, we have your regular 45, 45, 90 triangle. To find the length of the hypotenuse, you take the length of one of the shorter sides and multiply it by the square root of 2. If you want to find the length of the shorter side, and you already have the hypotenuse, you divide the length of the hypotenuse by the square root of 2.
So we know that that this is 30 degrees in the unit circle. So, and we also know, given that this is a unit circle, that the radius equals 1. So, using the 30, 60, 90 triangle theorem, the short side is going to be half. So we take 1/2 and we multiply it by root 3 to get root 3 over 2. So now we know the coordinate to be 1/2 comma root 3 over 2. We can also find the radian by doing the proportion. So we know that 30 over 180 equals something over pi, since we know pi radians equals 180 degrees. So this is a completed unit circle.
This is a sine graph. To make a sine graph, you take sine theta, or opposite over the hypotenuse, which is y over r, and we know that the radius of a unit circle equals 1, so the denominator is going to be 1 always. And you plug in the coordinates for y on each of the points on the unit circle to find the points on the graph. And when we look at the sine graph, we see that it keeps on going up and down, and it looks like a sine wave.
So this is a cosine graph. Much like the sine graph, it involves the hypotenuse. However, this time it is the adjacent over hypotenuse, or x over r. So now we take the x value instead of the y value, and we plot points for every we plot the points that are on the unit circle into this graph, and we connect them. Now, the tangent graph. Note that there are 4 vertical asymptotes. And why are there 4 vertical asymptotes? Because 0 cannot be the denominator. If you look at the tangent graphs, you see that it is opposite over adjacent, or y over x. However, at these points, such as pi root 3, tangent root 2 over 2, we can see that it's 1 over 0. 1 over 0 is undefined. Thus, there is a vertical asymptote there,